lots of universal help. We're having, angels, aliens, and all of a sudden your community will start to show up, meaning your soul family. And this is one of the things I found to be the most fulfilling part of understanding, feeling and embracing the fact that I'm an activated being, not just having DNA. The old way of looking at DNA is you have it. It's there. It's set from birth. You can't change it. But we've known, the science of it. I'm not even going to talk about the science of it, but the science of it says our DNA can change. And we know that now, which we didn't think so before. If you were taught, if you were brought into the world and you had some disease, or your family had a disease, you'd have it. That was just that people thought that they would have whatever their parents had because it's in their genes, it's in their DNA. And we're finding now that that's not even remotely true. And if you're really interested in learning about the science behind the DNA activation, I highly suggest go watching, I think it's Bruce Lipton's videos on, I think he's the right one. But he talks about the environment around, it's the environment around our DNA that changes the DNA, that allows our DNA to change. And what changes the environment around our DNA? That's our thoughts, how we think. And so, but I'm not going to talk about thoughts today. I'm going to talk about frequencies and superpowers and...
Can I add one thing? Because you just said it's all about our thoughts. It's really all about the heart connecting with the thoughts. Because you got to open it up here with a frequency in order to change that part that you're talking about, because the mind's polarized.
Yeah. That is true. And it's got to be both. It's got to. But here's the cool thing that I have discovered, and not even discovered. I've done a lot of life coaching and a lot of business coaching, and I just couldn't get. Lots of people I've been teaching the law of attraction for 7-8 years, and there's people that just are not getting it. I'm like, why the heck are they not getting it? I walk up to them, I know that they have it because I can feel it. I can feel the frequency change in them. I can feel that they're changed. But they're not even, they have no idea that they're changed. And so I sat down and I asked the question, journaling, highly suggest this. Write down a question, the question that you really want the answer to, not random questions like, why are all the people around me dumb? Because you will get the answers to whatever questions you write down. Why are all the people around me so enlightened? Why am I enlightened? But my question was, why are they not getting it? And maybe not. And the answer was, well, you can't help them. The question was, how do I help them get it? That was really the question. The answer was, you can't help them get it. They have to get it themselves. And here are 24 plus ways to activate your own DNA. And that was really exciting for me. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So we're going to experiment and do a couple of those kind of exercises to help you activate your own DNA. But what I found out through all continued journaling and continued, not even research, just continued presence to being really open to my own heart and really having my heart open to other people. And that's where that comes in for me, was that when you're activated, when your DNA is activated, meaning it's switched on, your superpowers are switched on, turned on. Like, how you get turned on about life? This is like you are turned on and you may not even know it. You are a walking, enlightened being without even embodying that.
Yeah.
So when years ago, my story goes back years and years and years ago, I knew that my business name was DNA. I just knew it. My name is Dawn Nocera. And someone said, oh, DNA, meaning Dawn Nocera and Associates. I had no idea. I kept thinking, no, that's not quite right. I traveled all the way to Arizona and had a shamanic healing journey with a guy at a place called Miraval in Arizona. It's a beautiful place. If you ever get a chance to go. This guy's name is Dr. Tim Frank. I'm just, visit him if you can. But I walk out of this amazing experience with him, and he says, well, what's the name of your business again? And I said, Dawn, or DNA. And he says, what does it mean? And I said, Dawn Nocera and Associates. He goes, no, that's not what it means. I said, well, what does it mean? And he says, you'll know. I mean, this is as I'm walking out the door. He goes, you'll know soon enough. I took 3 steps, and I got divine natural alignment. And that's what DNA is, right? It's having your total body, every cell in your body aligned with the divine. Whatever you call it, whatever you imagine the divine is, having every cell in your body connected and activated, aligned, working in partnership. And that's what activation is. That's what DNA activation is to me, is having that total amazing feeling of being one with the source of everything. Now, we think, but I've got all this work to do. I haven't done enough work, or I've done all this work and I still have a crappy life. People, think, what's up with that? What I have, through the journaling, mostly through the journaling, is discovered, and through just getting answers. Like if you ask a question, I think I know the answer, and then I'll hear the real answer. That's wisdom. That's me feeling and connecting to my activation, because I'm like, oh, this mind doesn't know anything, but the divine mind knows it all. And I'll get a nice little answer. And it doesn't happen all the time, so it's just occasionally, but we're able to access all of that within ourselves all the time. What the biggest thing that I want the biggest thing that I want you to understand is each one of you is probably already activated at some level and have some superpower, meaning that you have it within you. Something incredible that you do for other people that you don't even know about, that you may or may not be able to recognize, but people know when you're in their field. That you might be as grouchy can be, but you are transmitting some energy, and this is where it's totally different than thinking positive thoughts, and I get to and open my heart, and I get to transmit this great energy. What I have come to understand is that Barrett may be a channel for activating wisdom. We'll just call it wisdom. He activates wisdom in everybody. And
just by being.
Just by being alive. Like, you don't have to open your mouth, okay? And this is where it gets fun. Because what happens is, once you become an activated person, and the difference between being activated and learning how to follow a desire and manifest a desire is, it's sort of like infinite intelligence has a desire that you are going to be the channel for this particular amount of grace for the world. You get to be the activator of wisdom. And you can't do it at home by yourself, sitting on your computer. That's like the coolest part about it. You just can't go out and transmit that energy by staying at home.
Or being in the cave.
Or being in the cave. You have to go out and you have to meet people, and you don't have to say anything. You don't have to say, I am the wisdom activator. Which you are. I have the superpower. This is one of the things. Like, once you know what your superpowers are, once you start to own them, one of them, you start to magnetize all kinds of other superpowers, and that's really exciting. Because a long time ago, I'd think, I really wish, in the old way of thinking, I would really wish that I could be as intuitive as I wanted to be. I had an interest. I really wanted to be intuitive. I really wanted to connect with infinite intelligence. And I remember thinking, how do I do this? So trying to figure it out is exactly contrary to what we're talking about in here. Because trying to figure it out puts your mind back into the equation, and now you become the controller, where infinite intelligence, the divine, now you're shutting the door. So if you think, if there's any antidote to being activated, you can't stop it, really. You can't. Once you're activated, you can't turn it off. You can walk around and activate wisdom in all of us. Just walk around, and all of a sudden, the person who's open to receiving it the most, well, what was your name again?
Steve.
Steve is going to feel it, and he's going to say, wow, I feel like I can discern things. I feel like I have a better ability to make decisions now. This is wisdom. I feel in my body, in my heart, wisdom is really a heart thing. I feel in my body when things are on and off. And he has no idea that you did it. You activated in him, but he never spoke to you. He just happened to walk in your space. But when we go and we try to figure it out, so you have wisdom, and now you're trying to figure out how to use it. You saw, like, it's like you turn the switch off, but you can't really turn the switch off, but you're turning it off for you, and you're still walking around activating everybody else. But when you get in the figuring it out, trying to figure it out, we stop our process for ourselves. We don't get to own it and live the whole fullness of what that means. So we
kind of like when Peter walked on the water, he saw Jesus walk on the water. He's like, wow, that's cool. I want to do that too. He's like, well, come on out.
Yeah.
And he just did it in faith, and he was doing it. And then we stopped to think about
Yeah.
it. And he started
That's
thinking,
it. We have got to stop thinking. I mean, I never thought there would come a day where I would say, you got to stop thinking. And it's not thinking, it's about, and when you do think, you want to remember that really the only thing, when you feel activated, when you become somebody who's activated, your job now becomes somebody who remembers that they're activated. and learning to trust is a big thing, because what's happening, we're all over 20 in here, right? There's kids that are coming in that are healers. They absolutely know that they can heal. They have no doubt about it. But when we as adults start trying to teach them how to do it, because we've known how to teach healers for forever, we get in the way of what is their natural state of alignment. We pull them, you can't pull them out of alignment, but we infest them with doubt, and the doubt's what clouds us all up, which is the whole heart thing. So DNA activation is sort of just from my personal experience, once I started understanding myself as an activated human being, I could not manifest in the way I used to. And if any of you are here have been an active manifester, meaning that you could think about things and you could put it in your heart and you can feel the emotions of it, and then you could, kind of like just throw it out there. You could just manifest it. That was easy. And all of a sudden, it's like we're not required, but we're being activated means that we are aligned. Anything that we do to move out of that is doubt. And we just go back into these old habits of thought that say, oh, I have to fix something or I have to tweak something in order to really receive in this area. No, you're receiving already. But the moment we put our thoughts into it, and this is so crazy because I've been teaching, I wrote the book on thinking actually. I have a book, it's called 7 Keys to Freedom, The Ultimate Guide to Developing the Mind, and it's all very valid for helping people who are not ready to be activated, ready to own their own power, that are just trying to still struggle with the mind's way of being activated instead of allowing yourself to be just aligned. Just say, oh, there's ways that we can activate our own DNA, which have been around for centuries. People have been doing them for as long as time has been invented. And I'll talk about a couple of those things. And then understanding that each one of us, I'm guessing you're all here because you're all activated. I'm guessing because you wouldn't be attracted to this unless you were activated human beings. So I'm going to say at some point in your life, you ran into somebody, they activated you, and this is how it spreads.
It's like anthrax.
Yeah, and it's exactly like a disease, but it's a divine disease.
And everywhere you walk, even like the airport, if you look in somebody's eyes, they wanted to be activated.
Yeah, and there's so much that happens when you look in somebody's eyes, and that's a real powerful, very powerful thing to do for somebody. Tom saw me this morning. He saw me. He said something to me that was like, I see you. He didn't, that's not what he said. But he told me that he told me something about myself, that he was seeing me. I'm like, yeah. And I know he's like an activated person. He can feel that. It takes a lot of trust to walk up to a stranger and say,